Hello, good morning to you. Here we are again, another local walk we're doing today. For those that haven't seen before, this is a chance to see some places round about Stonehouse that you've maybe not seen before, maybe how to get there and learn a wee bit of history. Just to say that if you are out walking during this time of isolation, you are allowed out for exercise, and this is the reason why I'm just out myself. Usually I'm doing the guided walks, but I'm doing them myself just to let you explore a wee bit of the village. But if you are going out, make sure that those walks are local and you're not getting in the motor and going away off to Loch Lomond or places alike. So today, without further ado, we're going to pass through the park and we're going to take you to a place called the Oil Shale. It's not mine as such, but it's where the oil shale works used to be on the Avon at a place called the Richies. So we'll see what we find. So let's go, we'll see if we can find out a wee bit more about the park. That's the Alexander Hamilton Memorial Park entranceway there, and just as we come in, just a wee warning there, watch out for the winds of Stonehouse, they can be dangerous. As we come into the park, most of you will have been here before, but there might be some new folks in the village that haven't come into the park. And if you haven't, make your way down here. It's quite a bonny park. It's seen better days, probably at its height, probably in the 1930s, kind of 1940s. But from here, you've got a grand view overlooking the valley, right up to the viaduct over there. There used to be, in days gone by, some of you might remember, just at this point in the park as you come in, used to be a thing called the Witch's Hat there, and you really took your life into your hands if you went onto that. I think I posted a wee video of it just the other day. As you come into the park, you get a good view down there at the Lintach farm. That farm's been there since at least 1596, and it's on an old map of the village by a guy called Timothy Ponton that year. And you're looking up the brae, you've got a grand view, as I say, up to the viaduct. In fact, way back in the 1850s, believe it or not, they were going to turn that into a reservoir, and there was going to be a spa near Kitty Muir. But the park itself, you can see there's plans afoot for it, hopefully, but at this moment it's not looking its best. As we're looking up to the bandstand there, some of you might not know this, but it's one of the last remnants of the Great Exhibition of Glasgow in 1911, and over 8 million people went to see that exhibition, keeping in mind at that time Scotland had a population somewhere between 4 and 4.5 million, something like that. So it's double the population went to see that. Now the bandstand itself used to have an amphitheatre around it, sat at Kelvin Grove. In fact, the folk in Glasgow didn't know this still existed, and I got it listed, I think around about 2007, it's B-listed. And that was the centrepiece of the park, and a grand setting it was as well, and hopefully we can get bands back there in the future. See the park keeper's house up the top there as well, and right here in the forefront we've got the fountain. And the fountain, technically the water actually is still in there, but they wouldn't allow the water to run for health and safety reasons because it uses a natural well. And just on the face of that there, I don't know if you can see it, it's actually presented by Alexander Hamilton, Esquire, Kidderminster. I talked about him the other day, who was a donor of the park, and that was put there in the memory of his mother on the 30th of May 1925. In fact, it was an old woman who was at up the top there at, I don't know if you can actually see it if I turn round, you can just see the top of the roof there, up at Avon Hall. Bunty Small was in there, and she was telling me how she was picked out that day at the opening in 1925 to present a wee posy to Alexander Hamilton in recognition of the donation of the park here. It's put in here in 1925, donated as a result of a gift from Alexander Hamilton, who the park a lot of people think it's actually named after, but it's actually named after his grandfather of the same name. And he made a lot of money in his day, and he wanted to leave something to the people of Stonehouse, so he left this, and he bought it from the home farm for about £500. But a wee bit of useless information, these trees in here that go right up the length, they were actually donated by Mr Gillespie. I think it was around about 1931 to the park, and are still there today. I think they're mostly lime trees if I remember. Up the side here you get a wee chute thing here. I think that was put in about year 2000, 2001. But the actual chute itself, which was famous for the park, which brought people from all over Lanarkshire and further afield, started just at that pole there. There's a pole down here. You can see it's got a kind of white sticker or something on it there. Started up there and went down the length of the hill. And that was put in 1933. And Thomas Wilson, I think, if I remember rightly, the councillor then, he was the first man down the chute with his bowler hat on. And again, we've got a wee photograph of that somewhere. Again, the bottom of the park here, where the play stuff is, that is where there was other play equipment there originally when it was put in, including I think there was a maypole and some other apparatus. The pond was put in a few years later as another attraction for the Wains, and I always remember it. I think it was George McInnes used to do the tickets, and there was a wee booth just to the kind of, there my finger, there, it used to be in there. You pay your ticket and you go in, and I absolutely loved it. The park was the place to be if you were away, and it's a grand view, and it's much easier going down than it is going up, I can tell you. And we'll still get swings there. There used to be swings in there in days gone by as well, and there can't be many a finer setting than the public park here. Although, believe it or not, when it was put in, the people of Stonehouse actually wanted a factory instead of a public park, which is a bit odd. And then we look up, and it's much easier coming down, as you'll know, and it's grand. Got a nice morning. Not quite blue skies yet, but a good day for walking. And as we come down here, we meet the river. And if you haven't gone before, you take your life in your hands now, right enough. But this pathway here, it's actually been officially blocked off because there's been a wee bit of subsidence there. We're going to get that sorted hopefully when better times come ahead, and that'll take you down to the bogs, and we'll take you there another day, and that takes you down to the Avon River. And that's us at the bottom of the park, so I'll leave you there and we'll join you at the Linter Brig. Just a wee thing I wanted to take a wee slight detour on just to show you. Just on the way up the hill there for the park, the Linter Brig, there's a wee trough here. I'm saying trough because it is a trough, or a drinking spout, whatever you want to call it. It was, this is an ancient well. It was actually used for the horses that used to travel up and down here. We're probably going back again a couple hundred years, if not in fact more. And that is actually called the Spout. Unfortunately, days gone by. Some time ago, the council stopped the water going to the fountain, which is further up, which is actually supplied by the same underground well, which supplied the spout here. Which is a shame that they cut it off. The water itself was actually tested and was okay, but because they can't prove where the source of the well come from, they've had to cut off the water to the fountain at the top of the park. And that happened with a lot of public parks in days gone by, because just for health and safety reasons. So that's why a lot of your fountains in the parks are no longer operating. Yet the water's fine. It's because it's a natural spring well. And that's where we are at the Linter Brig, heading off to the old oil works. I'll catch you up soon. Well, here we are down at the Linter Brig. The main road there, I'm saying main road, it's a back road to Larkhall, Quarter, Glassford and Hamilton, which is well used when the road is blocked up to the Canderside Toll. Built in 1771 after two bridges here were actually swept away in floods only a year before. This was actually constructed by conscription by local lairds and folk of the town who paid for it, not the council at the time. This was the local folk who paid for it, like most things nowadays. And here we have the viaduct just in the background there, looking up the Avon water. Again, a grand river. Folk used to swim in here in days gone by, still do in better weather. I wouldn't recommend it, it's bloody freezing, but a lovely setting. I'll just look to the other side, let you see. In fact, some years ago we actually found, when they were doing some restoration work in the Lintoff Bridge here, there was a bottle found which had the name of the contractor and all the guys that had worked on repairing the bridge. And it had some other information as well, and we've got all that in the heritage group, so we put the bottle back in the wall again, and that'll be for somebody else in years to come to find it another day. As we come over the brig here, you've got two options here. We're going to the right today. There is actually a right away sign there just in front of you. That takes you up to Home Farm. That's a lovely old farm as well, lovely folks that are in the farm and all, and that in days gone by, that dates back to, but again, well before 1596, one of the oldest farms in the town. There's a track up there which actually takes you up the hill. Only thing is, I would say, is avoid the bee season, because there is a lot of bees up there, so you want to try and avoid them if you can. But it doesn't, unfortunately, the pathway which goes to the top there is not great. It takes you up the Croft Head. But in days gone by, that used to be called the Cobars, and that was a lovely old walk for transferring the cattle from one place to another. Just might be worth saying this, like, a lot of folk don't know this, but this is actually the national site coal route for Scotland that passes through here. It actually goes right through the cross. Probably 99% of folk in Stonehouse didn't know that. Well, maybe 98% do. Just get a wee shot of the river down here, looking back to the Lintock. Unfortunately, as you can see, somebody's graffitied the side of the bridge recently. Keep in mind, this is a listed monument. It's B listed, 1771, and the vandals are taking to painting that, which is a shame. So that's a wee bit of history of the village there. And we're going to carry on now, and I'll turn this off and we'll catch up with you just a wee bit further up the road. Well, here we are at the end of the home field, looking up to Home Farm, and as you can see around here, you can see why they maybe wanted to create a reservoir here. It's just a natural site for it. But again, if you don't know, this field here right in front of us was actually where there was a 9-hole golf course at one time, and each hole had its own names. I think I've got a record of that somewhere, but it was there around about 1912. Unfortunately, it didn't last too long because the war came along, and a number of players, members were actually killed during the war, and it took quite a lot to keep it in good form, so unfortunately it fell away. In fact, it used to be a Mr. I think it was a Mr. Wallace of the Royal Oak pub, which was at the corner of Lockett Place and Lockett Street. He used to be the manager of the site. And we're just looking up the water there, and looking up towards the viaduct now. So we're going up the brae. In fact, in days gone by, we now know this is Millhew Road, but in days gone by this was actually called the Geordie Flit. Not sure where the name comes from. Obviously named after a local character, I would expect, but there was once a body snatching story here, because one of the body snatchers, I've told you about them before, for the old graveyard, one of them was actually escaped in Union Street, and the other one actually came up this way and thought he would escape, but there was a posse on his tail coming up here, and he thought, I'm not going to get away, so he thought he would go into hiding. And as he came up here, he found a wee culvert. I'm not going to get down to it, but just at the side of the road here, you'll see a wee burn which crosses underneath the road here, and it goes out the other side and down to there and then into the Avon, and you can go through it. I've been through it a couple of times, but underneath there it was a Telford culvert about 1830s. Anyway, the body snatcher was hiding in there, and while he was in there he was in a wee smoke out his tobacco tin. But I think I told you this story before. Townsfolk, or rather the dogs that were with the townsfolk, actually found the man, and they ripped the body snatcher to pieces. So aye, cheery stuff. So you're coming up this Brae. If you're a driver, you'll know it well. It's not a great bend this, you need to take your time there. We're coming up to where we're going off road now. You'll just see the gate ahead of you, and that is the road which in days gone by was known as Tinker's Lane or Tinker's Road. So I'm guessing further on in the field ahead, that's where he used to camp in days gone by. A lot of rubbish here it's been gathering up recent days. Might also be worth pointing out that just to the other side of the Avon there, just over there, believe it or not, and that down, if you follow the edge of that field down there where it joins the river, if you look over to the other side, that's where Stonehouse's original bandstand was, long before the bandstand at the public park, which is just further around to our right hand side. And that was there certainly 1880s, 1890s, I'm not sure, I haven't got a date for it, but townsfolk would come here for Sunday school outings, and they would play games and have refreshments, but they'd come out in horse and cart to a lot of these events. And you can still see the remnants of where that wee amphitheatre was at the other side, but we'll maybe go there another day. Today we're going to follow this path here, and it's a lovely wee walk. It's actually one of my favourites, and if you want to be in isolation, this is the place to go. This is where I probably bump into half a dozen folk coming up the field, but no, I don't think I've ever met anybody on this road other than the folk that I take with a guided walks. And you can see already, you can see the viaduct there crossing the river. Scotland's longest viaduct, it might be pointed out, and Larkhall was Scotland's highest viaduct. And in its date, it was built in 1904, and by the Arrow brothers, who are famous engineers who also made the Forth Road Bridge. And when it was constructed in 1904, we've got photographs of that. The first train driver over was paid an extra shilling for his efforts. In fact, you can see here, we'll get a crossover. This is there's a wee gateway here, which was put in by the Rights of Way Society many years ago, and it's still used today. Firma uses it as well for crossing. It keeps the coos in here occasionally, but I shouldn't have put this down before I decided to cross try to hold this at the same time. Anyway, this is where I phone my RCM. There we go. And we're going to carry on along here. It's not too muddy now, but I took the scouts along here just recently, and I did tell them wear your wellies or boots, and some of them turned up in their good white trainers, and as you can see here, it is quite muddy, so do wear decent boots when you're walking along here. It wasn't until we get further on and completed the walk and got to the Richies, I did ask them, I says, so what do you think that was you were walking through? And they're all going, oh, that was great, oh, the mud was great, and they were throwing the mud at each other, and they were covered in mud in their faces. And I says, well, it's actually cookie, and that's what it is. It's a cookie path for the coos to make their way to the Richies along there. So I don't think it's very good for the complexion, but I wouldn't recommend trying it. So there we go, there's the pillars. See, for me, these are the standing stones of Stonehouse, and I think I think they stand testament, as they say, to the guys who made them, that they've lasted this long and structurally understand that they can still be used. Should there be a requirement again, there's nothing wrong with the pillars. They've been assessed, I think, sometime in the early 2000s, and days gone by, originally that was actually meant to be a 2-lane track, but I don't know if it was money or what, but ended up it was only a single lane rail track. And if we look along the field here, this is a great sight here. This, if you've seen the scrambling films, the old scrambling bikes, this is where a lot of the scrambling used to take place, especially in the 1950s. Stonehouse was actually famous for the scrambling. They also used to scramble, in fact up until recently, I'm talking the last 15-20 years ago, they used to scramble up at the Candor Mill, the Bray, going up there on the right hand side, and the Scottish Championships used to take place there. Useless information, you never know when you'll need it. So as we're going up here, there's plenty to see en route. You'll notice that it's not quite time for it yet. In days gone by, this would be covered in dandelions, but dandelions are no good for the coos, so the farmer has to come and spray them because it's like a poison to them. And you can see here, we talked about it before, places covered in this, the lichen here, and you buy that in wee packets in the shop and it'll be 2 or 3 quid. And here, that must be about a few £100 that's on that tree. And it's all here for free. And just, as much as you can, just stick to the path as you're going along here. I'll put this off just for a wee bit and we'll rejoin you at the beginning of the pathway in. Okay, that's us looking back up the pathway there to the pillars there and the viaduct. We're just going to carry on up this pathway here, and it just follows the side of the Avon. It looks as if there's been a wee bit of work done to actually improve it, but as you can see, that's Avon just in at the right hand side there. In fact, just here there's a red ochre seam, seems to be emitting at the side of the hillside here, and that'll be colouring the water at the bottom. If you are going along the edge here, I would recommend you do stay at the path. I've been in the river and walked it many a time, and you can find old bogies for the railway there along the length of this, and all bits of metalwork from when the viaduct was destroyed in 1984. Apparently it didn't have full planning permission, but that's another story. So there was a lot of folk in the village there to see it getting destroyed. You get a grand view up the Avon. I say, if you want to get an isolation, and I'm talking about normal isolation, this is where you want to go. It's a lovely sight. This is one of my favourite wee walks in the village. This path here, as you can see here, I watch I don't drop the camera in here, it's absolutely mock it. So if you want a market walk, come here. In fact, my son lost one of his wellies in here, so if you do find it, let us know. That must have been about 15 years ago, but I don't think it'll fit on now. But if you can see the path here, there's no really any way to escape it. It's just grin and bear it and try not to fall in. You can see my boot there, look at that's quite a depth there. It's also not the nicest smelling. You just got to try and find a way through it, and good luck to you at that. The winds love it though, so if you're coming in isolation with your family member, you're not to come in groups or with anybody you don't know, come down here and don't forget your wellies. Up the side of the hill there, there's actually the remains of various mine workings. That's for another day. There's some tracks down here that look as if they're for a bear or a lion, which is worrying me a bit, but I think it's probably just a big dug. If you also come down here about this time, kind of April, start of May, you also quite often hear the woodpeckers, which aren't really a common sound you'll hear in about the actual village centre, but I know it's got sort of become quite common again. It's lovely to hear them. Oh, here a wee surprise for us. There's been a wee fall, a wee landslide here, which is interesting because I wasn't expecting that. So we're going to have to find a way around this wee mini landslide. Jings. Because the pathway should actually cut right through there. So what we'll do is I'm going to turn this off and find a way over the tap. In fact, I might get her here, no bother. I didn't know you need to be Indiana Jones to get through here, but anyway, there we go. So just watch your footing. I'm saying watch my footing, I need to watch it myself. There the tap there. You can see there's just been a bit of heavy rain. Unfortunately there's some bigger boulders there which have done a bit of damage, and as I look ahead there, it looks as if I'm going to have to find an interesting way through. So, yeah, that was a good idea coming here today. Right, I'm going to turn this off and I'll tell you if I found a way through it. Alright, I'm just going round that pile there. Stuck to the left hand side, as you can see. There's a wee bit of landslide there, so we'll maybe leave this until the farmer clears that, but if you are coming here again, just in case, we're going to go down the pathway just to the left hand side and follow on. It looks stable now, but if it's been raining I recommend you don't come down here just in case. There we go. And this is, you can see here, we're just at the end of this part of the section of the pathway, which takes us at a place called the Ritchies. Again, an ancient roadway. The farmer still uses it occasionally for the coos along here, and it follows a kind of horseshoe kind of loop, following the edge of the field here from the right, through the gate, right round to the other side, up to the left. We're going to follow the right hand side of the fence here. That's the easiest way. If you had followed the left hand side, I'm not going to go there today, that would take you to the oil works. I'll tell you a wee bit about that later on. Again, if you want to go a wee picnic in the summer, hopefully if we see a summer this year, this is a great wee bit to go down by the water. And it used to be popular in days gone by with folk in the village. And like folk go to the Lintock there for a wee swim. Days gone by, the folks for Stonehouse would come down to the Ritchies and have their lunch down here and play in the water or do a bit of fishing. And I can hear the birds whistling away here. It's kind of early morning, and the river's trickling by on your right hand side. That's all you can hear, and we've got a rarity as well, there's no traffic. Quite an eerie thing during the night, opening up the window and you can't hear anything, just pinching yourself to make sure you're still alive. It's odd. And just at the top of the hill there, I don't know if you can see it, that's through the trees, right centre, that's Townsend Farm. It's up there. That's a private road up there, but a nice wee bit of the town as well, which overlooks the double dykes, which we'll take a walk to another day. As you're coming along this side here, and in the summer you're getting all sorts of butterflies here, you know, your peacocks, your cabbage whites, your orange tips, wall browns. This place is covered in butterflies. It's a cracking bit for nature. You also get, obviously, see the mink down here as well. Not too often, but they are here. But you need to stick to the edge of this pathway, because we're going to be joining the edge of the river where we need to make another crossing. So once I find it, I'll put this back on. Right, here we are, just a wee bit further up, just following the side of the river there. You're going to come to the end of the field where you're looking for a crossing that fishermen have put in days gone by. If I just scan round a wee bit, just on the other side there, other side of this tree, you'll see a large geological site there where in days gone by I'm sure you could have probably found better fossils than possibly the days gone by at the Horsepool, but that's a great wee site there. But don't go underneath it, because there has been rockfalls there. It is dangerous, so keep this side of the river. But that is the Richies there. There's all photographs of that. I think John Melvin took about 1905. But here we are. We're just coming up to the crossing here. You're looking for this. It's not a great crossing, but it's better than taking your life in your hands crossing the barbed wire there, and you don't want to damage the fence either. So look for this crossing point here. See 3 large stumps just before I cross. I'll just scan up the river there to let you see it. Yep, Bonnie. Hugh Burns used to take me down here years ago when he was exploring this area with me to show me what was here. It's a cracking sight. A couple of ducks just took off there, just frightened them. Anyway, right, I'll cross over. There we go, and as you get in here, you'll see a wee pathway, well, of sorts, where folks have been before. Just follow the edge of that round. Now, as much as I've walked in the river there, I'd recommend that you don't walk in here. It's bloody unusual finding. That there is a big shell. I'll just give you an idea in my hand. That's bloody huge. In fact, that's probably, I'm guessing, at the graveyard. And it's more than likely that that's been thrown in the river at some point over the decades, and it's actually made its way down to here. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get that cleaned up and put it back into the graveyard again. So that's a cracking wee find there. A lot of stonework here, and if you are into your fossils, it's also another good wee bit to start exploring. I'm just looking up the river there. Lovely. But don't go in the water there. As I found out to my cost, in there it goes over head height, just about in the middle there. Might be worth saying there has been people who have been drowned in here, including a chap by the name of Robert Stewart, who was the son of the Stonehouse Oil Works. His father had forgot his lunch one day, and his wife sent their son Robert to take the lunch to him, and unfortunately crossing the river at some point here, he got out his depths and drowned. So, oh, sad story. I need to try and find some happy ones, there's no many. So as we get in here, just follow the water's edge, and you'll find a lot of stones with names on them, like Larkhaw, and these are all the old brickworks of days gone by. There was 2 brickworks, in fact there was 3 brickworks. There was one at Tileworks, there was one at Kittymuir, there was also one up at Greenburn as well, up near Lonsdale Farm, which is a cracking wee place. I love it, up in Lonsdale. Some of you might have known old Andrew Gardner, he was a character and a half, and I loved his stories. What a man. He was a sad loss to the community recently. But a few characters yet. And just follow the river and watch you don't fall in, because it's awfully wet. But there's all sorts of things you can find in here. In fact, just at the other side of the water, just further up, there's two great big circles that are cut into the stone. They were not sure if that was for mill wheels or if it's something to do with the works that were happening down here. There was also ironstone mines as well. There's some degree of coal working, but that would be in the ancient times, dug into the side of the rock face. And there are further round, I'm not going to show you on the day because they are a bit dangerous, but round the edge there on the other side on the right there are 3 caves which, although they are quite strong in the inside in terms of the caves themselves, on the outside there's been landslides and I don't want to see anybody getting stuck inside there. I've been in once myself and I would never do it again, and I was wrong to do so, but I did find some old bottles in there for the 1920s where I was told that during the Great Strike of 26 the men were working it again for the coal, and I wasn't sure if that was a true story or not there. Lo and behold, we went in and we found some bottles which appeared to date to that period, which have just been discarded like rubbish is today. But one person's rubbish is another person's treasure, of course, and we've got a few of these in the house. But throughout this rock, I showed you a lot of the fossils before. I'm not going to spend any time looking again at any detail, but this place is full of bits of fossil. And you can play away at your heart's content. There's also another wee thing, I'll see if I can find some. I'm going to just grab a wee bit of a tangerine or something just to get a bit of refreshment before I head back. I'll see if I can find it. There's these wee little orange balls you find in here, and they're absolutely they're amazing. I thought they were marbles at first, and then I thought, oh, is this a natural thing? Is this some kind of something off a tree? I don't know. I didn't know what they were, but they were. They're actually they kind of aerate bottles like lemonade in days gone by. They put these wee balls in it, and it somehow created a kind of fizz in the bottle, and there's numerous in here. So again, it's another sign that folks have been down here having their lunch and they're just throwing these things away. And I've found tons of stuff in here. The water's quite high today. We're looking over to the oil shale area. The oil shale mine, well, they actually worked it on both sides. You can still see the remains of a slag heap on the other side a wee bit further on up there. In fact, there's actually a rail which follows a pathway at the other side. It takes you up to where there used to be 2 retorts. These are retorts where they heated the oil to extract it from the shale, and that was a process which was popular as a result of a guy called James Paraffin Young, no relation unfortunately, who found out that he could extract oil from shale, and he made an absolute fortune. But unfortunately for Scotland, like so many other things, other people prospered better than us at it, and the Americans kind of took over that market and some other places besides. So I'm not going to go any further here. I'm just going to stop here. In fact, I'll go up to the end. Tell a lie. I'll go up to the end and let you see up river a wee bit. But aye, they found a way of extracting the oil from the shale, and it meant they could rework a lot of the old coal pits to get the shale from it. And just further up the river there, you can still find the 2 retorts. They're in the water, and they look like kind of submarines or like 2 great big, I don't know, trident nuclear missiles. And they're in the side of the water. I've got photographs of them, I'll post them in Ardee. And that's a bonny view up the river there. I'm going to walk that in the summer, all going well. And you're kind of looking up towards the sunny warm there. Every pool's got its name. And what a great sight this is on a summer's day. If it was only a wee bit warmer, I'll just look up the river. See, you're looking up to the rockfall there, across the river, and down by. The oil works, by the way, in Stonehouse, the Stonehouse Oil Works Company. If I remember rightly, it was McNaughton and Aitken, and they started it in 1868, and it was only there for 5 years, finished in 1873. And I know they had at least 8 employees for Stonehouse, managed by William Stewart, I mentioned earlier. And the manager, the owner of the mine were well thought of, actually, and they actually provided for wee parties to go out down the water for excursions. So it was good to see employers looking after their staff. Can't say that about everywhere these days, but in the main I think most employers see the value looking after their staff, and they did in Stonehouse in the days. So aye, that's where this is down where the oil works is. The river can be followed down, easier for the right hand side there, but you need to cross the river, so you're going to get wet. Easiest bit if you are crossing is just here where the water just trickles over the edge there. And again, take care, and I wouldn't recommend taking children, certainly under the age of 12, because there's a good chance they're going to fall in, as my son did when we come down here. And I think he got it for about an hour before we get down the river a bit. But anyway, so there we are. I'm going to leave it at that for the now, and we'll get you on the other side. Just another wee scan around the river there. It's very clear today. The water, believe it or not, that is it clear. Just the run off the hills. Bit of kooky, never hurt it. Just gathered a couple of rocks here together. Rocks, bricks. There's just a few. Nimmo's the most common one you'll find here. That's Dewars, and also one NCB. Presuming that'll be maybe Northern Coalboard, maybe Newton. Also just at this same point here actually found it looks like wee corals that's in there, that bit there, and you'll find off bits of pot as well. It's a nice wee bit of blue glaze on the side here. I'm no pottery expert, but I know a man who does, so I can take that back. And a nice wee bit of green and blue on it there. Occasionally you find a full pot. I've got one or two, but most of them have been broken up over time. Other things you'll find in the river, in fact just along here, not sure why, but at the point just along it in the centre there, I found 2 horse and cart wheels, the iron, rather the ring that goes round the circumference of the wooden wheel, and they weighed a ton, but myself and a good friend, Will Fuel, we took them all the way home, or rolled them all the way home, and Wolf made a construction or a bit of art out the 2 rings. So if you want to see Welsh ring, it's in Carmarthen Street. And that's so there's all sorts of things you can find here if you just look below your feet. A bit like a graveyard when we were there last week, but we'll not go into that. So we'll get a head off a wee bit further in the river now. Well folks, I'm just going to head back for here. I'm not getting across the river today. It's I just don't want to take the chance with my dodgy knees. However, just 1 or 2 things I have found here, just wanted to show you. You can find lots of things here. I couldn't find those wee kind of clay balls that are down here, but there's plenty of old pottery if you're into that. There's also tons, I can't remember what they call this stone here, but if you collect fish, tropical fish, you'll find these in their fish tanks. You can get that in a shop, and that'll cost you a few pound for that, and it's down here free. There's hundreds of the stuff. You also, as I said, there's plenty of fossils as well. Here's a couple I just picked up. That there is a crinoid. It's just a section through it there. The place is covered in these. 300 million years ago, Carboniferous. You heard the wee talk the other day, so that's a wee cracker there. I might even take that one. There's another one here. Got a section, in fact, where's that one? Aye. Here's another section here. And just in there, these are wee corals, which were just found at the bottom of the sea. Just small. Just a wee section there. I'll leave that one for somebody else to pick up. I've got plenty of it. And here we've also got parts of shells. I don't know if it's forgetting that. Full shells there. The best thing to do, there's a wee section of it just on the edge there. is if you take it down to the water, you can see it better. If you dip the stones in the water, you'll see there the shell comes up and you can see it a lot better. If I turn that around, there's a wee cracker on the other side there. Yep, so that's probably again dating to the same period. I've got quite a few of these in the house, but that's a wee cracker there. And they're here, they're numerous, they're everywhere. So I'm just going to put a couple of these in my bag because they're quite good examples. I usually leave the most of them behind, so I've already got plenty there anyway. But aye, come down here, you don't know what's just below your feet. People don't take the time to actually look and see what's round about them. And as I say, there's not many folk down here, although I was actually I was just walking along this wee sandy bit, which is good for if you are coming out for a lunch and better days when we can actually come out for leisure purposes. I thought I saw some footprints here and I thought, oh, I'm not the only one in isolation along here. Then I realised it was actually my own footprints, it was actually walking the other way. Anyway, I'll just take a wee donner just up to the water's edge here, just before I tune off for the day. I'll let you get back onto your whatever it is you're doing. If you're going for a good night in, out, or is it a good night out in, I'm not sure. Just at the other side of the water there, you'll see a fall of rock just there. And on the other side, you can go up the other side very carefully. It's not deep. And just over there, in the rock, you can't see it today, the water's just slightly too high. There's two cuts in the rock, and it's two circles which have been cut out, clearly cut out, which are not natural, or certainly don't seem natural, which are probably for the times when the ironstone mines were here and all sorts of other things. Maybe there was a mill here as well. There's mills everywhere. There's plenty of other things to see up the river, but we'll take you there another day. And I think we'll just kind of leave it at that. So, just to kind of sign off again and say that do keep well, keep safe. If you are going out walking, as I said before, try and do that yourself or with a family, as the guidelines say. Keep it local as well. You're still in the parish of Stonehouse here, and do that at a time when you're more likely not to meet MD as well. So I'll see you hopefully at the other side and we'll actually get out these places. I'll take you to see some of them, or if not, even better, go and explore it yourself. It's your village. I think we should appreciate what we've got round about us. Without further ado, I'll leave it at that and maybe see you in a week or so.